I'm talking to Lawrence Mitchell at Life Beyond Labels about obsession.
I'd like to tell you of an incident which happened recently. When I say recently, it was in the last 5 or 6 years. I was cycling along the Grand Union Canal in an area full of industrial estates, and there were all sorts of pipes and things, lots of bridges, railway bridges going crossing the canal where I was cycling, and I suddenly imagined there was a Tyrannosaurus, and I pictured this Tyrannosaurus with its fiery breath, and I pictured it literally at a point where it's about to devour me. And you couldn't believe it. The hairs on my, my chest, my arms, I was goose pimples. I was really very, very scared, and I actually stopped the bike and cowered, wondering if it was safe to actually go on. And it was a really horrible feeling, but I have learned that particularly those on the autistic spectrum, they had really heightened sensory things in their brain. The part of the brain which is responsible for these sensory, whatever they are, really reaches out to all sorts of places, is drawing in so much information, it's too much information. Another way of showing this, imagine you are standing on top of Everest, and you are looking around at everything. What you can actually consciously see is very, very little, but your brain can pick out perhaps someone sitting in a plane 100 miles waving in your direction. We just don't know this. What the autistic brain is taking in a tremendous amount of information overload. And this is what I think obsession is all about. In my case, what it is, I had terrible time when I was a child. I know children can be afraid of the dark, and I remember my mother used to put me to bed, and she would sit for me, read me a story, then I would tell her I need to have the light on, and of course she would come in later, probably switch the light off, but it wasn't as simple as that. I'd be looking in every drawer to make sure my Tyrannosaurus Rex wasn't lurking there to gobble me up. Under the bed, everywhere, looking outside the window. Then I'd get back into bed. Then after a while, I'd be getting out of bed and looking around. This was going on at the time. But there are other occasions when I was watching television. I was watching something, and I would find a scene very, very embarrassing, and I'd imagine what it was like. I'd picture myself as being one of the actors. So I was actually part of the television scene, and it was something very, very embarrassing was about to happen. So I would be very, very embarrassed. I would be whatever was going on, and this was building up in for me, information overload when I was a child. So I think a lot of what people call our phobias are very, very deep fears, and these fears are brought into the present, and that's why so many people, perhaps we're not just talking about those on the autistic spectrum, but general people who have fears. It is something they've very deep, very precious in its own way to them, that somehow has been brought from the past into the present.